Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Only a Bag, an Italian travel podcast. I'm Darcy Melton.
And I'm Nathaniel Mellor.
Today, we are going to talk about fast food, street food, quick bites.
How to look like an Italian.
How to look like an Italian. Hopefully, y'all know we're long-winded, so this might be. We'll see. We'll see how far we get today.
I have faith in us. I think we're going to just speed through all this.
You're very hopeful. I love
very
it.
hopeful. And I love you too. So I guess should we just start?
Yeah, I think we should get straight into it. I mean,
okay.
it's fast food. It's quick
There we
bites.
go.
Let's just hop
What
in.
better excuse do we have?
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about fast food. In Italy, barely exists. It does exist in that there are McDonald's here and Burger Kings.
Not many of them, though.
Not nearly as many as you would find in the U.S. And they're pretty new. We recently got one in the town over from us.
Oh yes, that's true. We did.
It's not great. We haven't been there, but
It
I
does
don't
have
love
the Play
it here.
Palace thing, though,
Yeah,
which I find is interesting.
it does. Yeah, why? Why?
Well, I found it interesting because I think that a lot of the new McDonald's in the States are taking them out because there's too much upwork to clean them, and there's a bit of a...
Well, a lot of people, after when COVID first happened, and when restrictions were happening in the U.S., they closed down a lot of their eat-in dining rooms in fast food places in the U.S. And even until at least last year, a lot of the dining rooms still weren't open in the U.S. But that plays into how I think they're different here, in that people tend to use them the way our parents would have eaten
Yeah,
at
that's fair enough.
fast food restaurants. You go in and you eat there at the dining room. Your kids are playing in the inevitably sticky, hot plastic
Yeah, absolutely.
Play
100%.
Palace, which I loved as a kid. So, nothing harsh there. But I think in the U.S. there's a lot more. You drive through, you get your food, you potentially eat it in the car, maybe you take it home. Here, I think there's a lot of still dine-in service.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And people probably do. It does have a drive-through, the one near us, right?
Which is what I think is kind of strange because I don't know if anybody actually eats in their car, driving.
I don't think they do. I think they
I think they
probably take it home maybe
Yeah.
to eat with their family. But yeah, I don't think anybody eats in their car here.
But I was thinking too, because they are newer, but I know that the McDonald's, for anyone who has ever been to the Spanish Steps in Rome, there's a McDonald's pretty much when you come down the Spanish Steps, there's a McDonald's right there. I think it's been there since the mid 80s.
Since the 80s?
Yeah, it was
Oh
a
my
very
God.
early.
I was thinking maybe 15 years ago or something.
I think it's been there since 89.
Wow. Okay,
Maybe
so
90.
not that new.
No, and I think that's the thing. There's other there are, I don't know, maybe 10, maybe 15 McDonald's in Rome, maybe less. But a lot of them have one of the big advertisements is 300 people seating or something like that. They'll have
Right.
these huge room dining rooms, I guess you can call it, where you're supposed to eat there.
Dining room, second floor or whatever.
And I think though it's
First floor.
as a little bit of I traveled as I tell everybody, I'm humble brag. I travel a little bit. I always hate when people say that. I have become what I hate. No, but when I traveled in 2013, that was something that a lot of people told me. If you need to use the bathroom and you're out and about, it's McDonald's and it's Starbucks and it's any Western or any American not franchise. I guess franchise. Any
Chain.
American chain because while in America, I think of what McDonald's bathroom is probably not the cleanest place in the world. They have to still here they have to adhere to these American standards of we have to clean the bathroom every 30 minutes or whatever it is. So they end up being really clean and they're all password protected, the little lock or whatever. Plus they all have free Wi-Fi. I know I think all the McDonald's here have free Wi-Fi's. I think there's Starbucks here and they have free Wi-Fi's. Wi-Fi's is not plural. They have free Wi-Fi. So no, it's just an interesting idea that almost the use of the fast food thing is different here. The McDonald's here almost has a different role than it does in the States.
Yeah. I think much of what we talk about, it's a more old school role.
Absolutely.
To the American mind and culture.
Yeah. It's the pre-2000. I mean, it's everyone who grew up in the pre-2000s, and it was we're gonna eat at Pizza Hut tonight, and we're gonna eat at Taco Bell, and we're gonna eat. So we're gonna go to this place, and we're going to eat there, and that's our experience for this evening. Because it was, I think, originally the fast restaurant. It was still a restaurant. Right. It's just the food comes out really quickly, and now it's not, I guess. It's like almost not even cafeteria, but almost like that sort of idea where like you're just there for as little time as possible to get your food and leave.
As Americans?
Yeah,
Yes.
as Americans, yeah. And here it's still more about the experience.
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely about the experience because it's for Italians still a novelty, I think.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, if you're in a big city, maybe not. You've seen the McDonald's as a Roman, you've walked past it potentially your whole life. If it's been there since the 80s and you're young.
Sure.
But I think in a lot of Italy, it's very much a novelty still.
Here, I think when it opened, there was a huge line because everyone had heard about McDonald's. And if you haven't been to Rome, or which I think is not that rare, I think some people here just don't like. I mean, it's just like in the States where you don't go to your big city.
Yeah, not
that's
everybody's
close to
been
you.
to New York.
Yeah,
or whatever.
exactly. I mean, we're from Georgia. I've been to Atlanta once, I think, and it was on accident. So
How did you get to Atlanta by accident?
well, you have to kind of go through it to go to Athens, and I was like, oh god, I didn't realize I'd end up here. I was on a Greyhound, I think. It was the whole thing.
What a unique life experience you've
I
had.
know, right? Well, the only thing I remember is they all like named Peachtree, all the streets like Peachtree this and Peachtree that. And I'm like, this is the most confusing place I've ever been in my life. And all that is to say is that, no, I think here when there's this huge line outside the fast food because it's such a like, I've heard they have these in America. Though
Yeah.
to be clear, they have like caciocavallo and, scamorza and like broccoli rabe and like it's still Italian flavors. They don't have the classic, they may have a classic Big Mac or something like that. But
They might, but even a lot of their advertisements are Italian
very much so.
ingredients and flavors.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
very much like it's for the Italian market, not
Yeah.
necessarily for the American market.
Yeah. Which I'm sure, I mean, if you like McDonald's and you're coming
Oh my
here for a
God, yeah. I
vacation,
mean,
it
I
would
think-
be kind of fun to get, an Italian style.
And I think like once a year,
Whatever.
you and I end up getting like fries from McDonald's because sometimes
Yes.
like I just really want McDonald's fries
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
there's no Checkers here. So I'll be honest, if there had a Checkers here, this would be a different conversation.
Oh my gosh.
We should
Okay,
get them
but I
to
love
sponsor the
Arby's
show.
fries. Curly fries?
Do they still do that? They moved on to like straight fries. Is it still curly
Well,
fries?
I hope not. It's been a long time since I've had them.
Okay, I thought that was like their big move. It was like we're gonna move away from that. I don't know.
Wow, that would be devastating.
right? Heartbreaking.
I don't think they could be open.
People
if they
everywhere would be
went.
in tears.
Yeah. I don't think they could function without curly fries there.
This is why we might not get through this episode in an
Okay.
hour.
Really good point.
We're 7 minutes and we haven't even talked about anything. So yes, fast food.
Yeah.
As
so,
you mentioned, there are fast food restaurants here, chains here. However, I don't think you and I have talked about this before, but I don't think we've seen any Italian fast food chains.
I don't think so. Not anywhere that we've been. Like you mentioned earlier, there's this thing called Chicken Hut, which I don't know where that's from.
I think it's a Rome. I don't know if it's chain in Rome or franchise in Rome, but it's like either like 4 of them in Rome
Yeah,
or 5
I
of
think
them in Rome.
there's a bunch in Rome.
Yeah,
I feel like I
okay.
see them everywhere. And that's fast food, dine-in,
But it's
style,
kinda like-
and takeaway.
But they have everything. It's like 50 something things on the menu. It's everything from chicken wings to pizza to pasta to falafel to kebab to curry. I mean, they have like I think it's supposed to be one of those like we have something for everybody. So it's like and we've been there, but it's not. I mean, it's not. I think we had falafel there once just because we're craving falafel and we couldn't find another falafel place. And it wasn't terrible. I mean, it's all frozen stuff. It's all like pre-made and reheated. But that's kind of what fast food is, by and large.
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, I don't know of another, McDonald's style fast food, Burger King style fast food, anything like that.
And
that's
that's
Italian.
to say, well, I think also too, like that's Italian. Like this podcast is not about Europe, obviously, but I know that other countries in Europe have their own fast food chains that are modeled after that fast food idea, like the McDonald's fast food idea. And I think Italy just has such a reverence, maybe for lack of, or maybe not reverence so much as just used to. You sit down and you spend a while eating. So the idea of like
Absolutely.
eating quickly doesn't make sense. They're like, no, I don't want to eat quickly.
Right.
This is a 3-hour break from work. I don't want to get back to work in 30 minutes. I want to get back to work in 3 hours. So I think there's a bit of a, I don't know.
I think actually this is not in my notes, but a good example of that is we live near Salerno and there's an IKEA, which is not actually in Salerno, but it's next to it.
It's in Baronisi.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd been to IKEAs in the US, but I don't know that I had eaten there. I just, shopped occasionally. But you and I always raved about IKEA once we'd eaten there because we ate at the one in Salerno. And it was fresh pasta made on demand because, they put it in your special little, you choose your pasta, you choose your sauce. They still have all the traditional meatballs and the veggie balls. And they have this, a vegetarian hot dog, and like all these things. And the food is so good and fresh. And we just
pasta especially, they have like that
so
sort of
good.
you order the pasta, they drop it, it's already kind of like a little pre-cooked pasta,
Mm-hmm.
they drop it in boiling water for 2 minutes, and then they drop it into a pan with
Mm-hmm.
already like sauce in it, and they kind of do it, and then they plate it with a little cheese, and
But it's made fresh in front of you.
yeah, and
Because
it's
why
like
would it not
€5
be?
for a plate of pesto or a plate of
Exactly.
marinara or something.
Exactly. And then they have like other traditional things. Like you can get a piece of chicken, you can get some vegetables and, different things like that. And in addition to that, there's the coffee counter
I was
and the
gonna say the
dessert
fully
counter as
stocked
well.
coffee bar.
So just like you would in any other Italian restaurant, you get you have your meal and then you have your dessert at the coffee bar and your coffee. And then you go about your day and your shopping. And very sadly, we went to the IKEA in probably Atlanta.
I think it was Atlanta
And
next,
it's
yeah.
not like that at all. We've also been to the IKEA in Jacksonville.
In Jacksonville. I was thinking the one in Tours in France.
Mm-hmm. That one
TOURS.
wasn't as good either.
Well, also, I didn't realize, I mean, again, this is not to be like, sometimes I realize I sound so American. I didn't realize like France had a ban on soda fountains.
And IKEA has amazing soda.
Well, they have that low sugar, it's like blackberry or pear or something.
It's like sparkling apple juice or
Yeah.
sparkling,
And because I
fruit
think
juice.
it's France, you can buy soda in a can or in a bottle. You just can't get it. It can't be like free refills. I think is what they've banned. I think Canada banned it as well. But it was such a I don't know, such a not eye-opening, but depressing eye-opening, whatever that's called. Where I don't know. I think we were expecting the bar, and there's no bar. We're expecting the little the soda. There's no soda. I was like, what do you have here? Why do people come to IKEA? Because I mean, in Italy, that's a huge part of going to IKEA. Is everyone plans it around lunch or dinner? It's either we're going to go before lunch, have a really nice long lunch there, and then go shopping, or we're going to go at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, spend 2 hours shopping, and then have a nice dinner.
And that's my point, is that like Italians base so much of their lives around food that there's no like it being fast it's not a thing.
Yeah,
like you
absolutely.
sit and enjoy your food and it is made well. Like that's just the way food works here.
Yeah.
So the idea of fast food is very, very different in Italy.
No, I think that's absolutely true. And so that brings us to where?
Okay, so
'Cause I'm
basically,
really I'm sorry. I'm the one like bringing us way off topic. I'm like, wait, you want to talk about fast food? So
I know I brought up IKEA, and that's it's like a positive trigger for you. I don't know
Yes.
what that's called. Like bring up IKEA in front of Nathaniel, he'll just chat
I
all
know.
about
Somebody's
IKEA.
like, we're going to IKEA. I'm like, do you have room for another one? I'll come with you if you need help. I have no idea why I like it. I don't own a house, but I really like IKEA stuff. Not necessarily the design stuff, just I think the food. And maybe the fun little displays when you go through and you're
do
like, ooh,
love the
how do
displays.
they organize this room?
Again, though, we're talking about IKEA,
Exactly.
and we're not supposed to be talking about IKEA in this episode.
That's
so
a good
let's
point. Wow, that's so quick.
let's move on and talk about quick bites.
Okay.
And that's also kind of the same as street food in a way. Italy doesn't have street food in the way a lot of other countries do. Not a lot of like food carts
That's
on
a
the
good
street.
point. Yeah.
Where I think we saw the most, air quotes, street food style things was actually in Florence.
I think that's right.
They
I'd
have
say that's true.
they have actual like little trucks that are.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not even necessarily a truck, but it's like a little trailery
It's like a
style
yeah,
thing. It's on
exactly.
wheels, okay? In the little piazzas, and most of what they sell is, I can never remember how to say it, but tripe,
I think it's
is tripe.
tripe. Yeah.
little tripe sandwiches. As we've said before, we're both vegetarians, so we did not partake in that, but it's very cute.
We've also talked about that, actually. We have a Florence episode on street food. If anyone is interested in going back and watching that episode, we talk all about where to get tripe sandwiches.
Yeah, but other than Florence, there aren't there's not the street food that we think of as Americans or potentially people from a lot of other places in the world
Yeah,
where there's just
exactly.
like tacos and street corn and little fried. I mean, I don't know, we don't have that in Savannah, but it seems really cool.
Well, I think when people talk about going to South America, it's like all about the street food. And when people talk about going to North Africa, it's all about the street food. When people talk about going to China, it's all about the street
India.
food. India, it's all about the street food. I know that like a lot of the is it Seoul has a night market in South Korea? There's like the
think
famous
so.
night market. I mean, it's like, or maybe it's Taipei. Sorry, but it's basically, it's like when you talk about street food, there's like, oh my God, there's these havens, there's these like,
Absolutely.
That's where you go for street food, and Italy is not one of them. Italy is dine in
Brick-and-mortar
only.
food,
Yeah, brick and mortar food. You need a building to be selling food.
Yeah. But there are like, some quick bites basically in Italy that you can grab. So my favorite one, and we've talked about this a lot, is arancini, which is or supli. They're a little bit different, but similar. It's essentially like a fried rice ball filled with cheese, a center of cheese, mozzarella. It's amazing. That's a quick bite. You can just grab one on the go. Pizza Atalio, which we've talked about
for sure.
a bunch. Little pizza, essentially by the cut.
That's more common, I think, in like Rome, even a little bit in like kind of Florence and stuff, but not so much in the south or even in the far north, I don't think.
Yeah, I would agree. What else? There is sometimes like the along with the arancini, there will be specific little businesses that just sell like fried food, and some of them will be like instantly, it's made fresh that day, but then fried on the spot when you're there. Like they have like croque di patate, which is a little essentially like a mashed potato.
Breaded.
Yeah, like a breaded mashed potato log.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's pretty accurate.
And other things like that. There are along the coast, I want to say along the coast in the north, and maybe I feel like Sicily, but we don't have it so much around here. Like fried fish to go, and like little calamari,
yeah,
octopus.
Naples has a lot of calamari, octopus type,
Do they?
like fried stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sort of a thing to go is or not to go, but as a quick bite.
As a quick bite, yeah.
And speaking of to go, it's a lot of those places will have like a little, what are they called? Like a cocktail style table, a bar table outside.
Like little standing tables.
Little standing table, outside or inside. And it's typical to not walk with your food, but to, even though it's a quick, almost street food style food, that you stand at the little table, eat your food, and then go about the rest of your day.
And if I can jump on that one, we talked about it in the episode that you lovingly titled "Italy's Not Breaking Up with You." She's just setting boundaries. And I think in Venice is one of the popular ones where you're not allowed to eat on the bridges, and you're not allowed to eat on the steps of churches.
That's
I think
smart.
Rome has something similar. Not the bridges one. People trash the bridges.
People do.
People being, unfortunately, Romans trash the bridges. It's kind of like Thursday night, we noticed. It was like, is the party night on Rome bridges.
Yeah,
then
like
Friday
all
morning,
the young people go out with their bottles of bubbly wine and cigarettes and random
Chips.
Snacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they just leave their trash on the bridge.
Absolutely just trash the bridge.
It's horrible.
But no, I was going to say that because that's something that, like, while it's not even frowned upon. It's just not done. Walking and eating is just not a thing here. It's even like a fine-worthy sort of behavior in some parts of Italy.
Yeah.
Because it really is, a lot of it is only, and not because they hate people walking and eating. It's just more about the fact that when you're walking and
It's a trash
eating,
prevention, or littering prevention
exactly.
thing.
You might not find a trash can. You might be losing the napkins as you walk. Food might be falling out of like what you're eating onto the ground, which might have rats or seagulls or things like that, where they're trying to cut down on that. So that's just all to say is like, and people, I mean, occasionally the only thing is like sometimes at the Pizza Italia places you mentioned, they'll give you cut a pizza or two of them and then put them like face to face and
It's
almost
like a
make
little sandwich.
Yeah. But even with that, like most people just stand outside the pizza place and eat it. They
Yeah,
don't
they
necessarily
do.
walk.
Most people don't walk and eat it.
Yeah, I mean, we almost never have I seen Italian walking and eating, but it's more common that we will get looked at while we're walking and eating. Like, the pizza box, if we grab pizza or something like that in the Pizza Italian, we're like, oh, let's have a quick bite before we get home. People will be like, what are they doing? Why are they eating now? They're almost home, I imagine. So yeah, that's just a little, because even with gelato, I mean, because that's, again,
People stand outside the
people
gelato
stand
shop.
outside the gelato shop and eat it. It's not like, oh, let's take it down to the water or let's take it somewhere nice. It's no,
Which is a bit utilitarian because if it's even slightly warm outside, that gelato will start melting.
Oh my God. It's immediately just like,
so you got to like hurry.
yeah, drip
and
city.
enjoy.
But no, it's funny because it almost like makes you take time to appreciate the gelato rather than like the view or what, if you take your gelato somewhere, it's like, no, it's
And it
for
is
now.
typical, like, I mean, a lot of places, especially in big cities, will be near a lovely view or, in a nice part of town or something. So people will often, be sitting along, what's it called? The where the street meets the sidewalk?
The curb?
Curb, thank you. That
This is one of the Italian words.
Where the street meets the sidewalk.
That's Shel Silverstein right there.
Right. So people will be sitting along curbs and steps and things like that. So it's not to say that like everybody's just huddled around like the door of the restaurant. People do sit around, but it's not like you pick up your little to-go bag and wander off to a site. It's eating very close to where you are is typical.
And the only time that's not probably the case is when there's a park nearby and like you're getting something that comes in like a pizza, like people will get like the pizza Italia in a box and walk to the park, or they'll get like the little container of pasta and walk to the park. Around lunch break, I think you'll see like a lot of Italians like hanging out under the trees in the summer at the park. That might be the only exception to the rule. But besides that, like they're not walking. Yeah, no, they're just staying there.
Yeah, pretty much. Local to the shop.
To the shop, yeah. That's a good one. I like that rule a lot. Or not rule, but that's a good rule of thumb to follow.
Yeah, thank you. Another one that is kind of a quick bite street food is sandwiches.
Sure.
Again, something we've talked about a lot.
Especially in that Florence episode.
Especially in Florence. Florence has a big sandwich culture. Rome has some sandwiches, well, different kinds of sandwiches.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Very much though. With the option of eating in the restaurant typically. In Florence, less so because they're tiny little places, but people will stand around those places and eat their sandwiches.
And if you're not going to the All'Antico Vignaio, which is like the famous one that everyone goes to, if you're going to one of the other sandwich shops, they're almost always like even just sometimes there's one table, and I don't know if it's a rule they have to offer some sort of seating or if it's just to be polite, like, oh, we were Italian, we should be offering seating. But there's always usually one place to sit. I mean, there's no guarantee you're going to get the place, but it exists.
Yeah.
And I was going to say with sandwiches too, just for what it's worth, they are called panino in Italian.
One sandwich is a panino.
Yes, and then obviously more than one is panini. So the American word panini, meaning Italian sandwich, comes from the plural of sandwiches. Yeah. But just in case you come here and you're like, oh, we should get panini tonight, you can say we can get panini tonight, but when you go order it, you're gonna have a panino.
Yes, and we heard someone was upset that the restaurant where they saw on the menu outside listed panini, they were Americans and they ended up not eating there. I don't know where we heard this. It must have been in Rome. They ended up not eating there because it wasn't an American panini.
Oh my gosh,
it was a sandwich, right. And the word panini means sandwiches, as we've just said.
But in America, it's a very
specific kind of sandwich. Yeah, it's not. So here
right.
It just means sandwich. It doesn't mean 2 slices of bread in a George Foreman grill.
Well, yeah, it's not like it's. I would say it doesn't have that the panini grill. I mean, some sandwiches. I mean, not really. Actually, I don't think we've had a single sandwich that has you put it in a panini grill. Like,
I don't know.
With the grill, yeah, I don't think that's a thing here. I mean, it might be somewhere. Somebody might be doing it, but I think that might be one of those Americanizations of an Italian thing. Because a panini here, to be like super honest, you can have really good ones, and we've had amazing ones. But by and large, for most Italians, when they go get a sandwich, they're talking about like prosciutto and some kind of cheese, or like ham and cheese, or I'm thinking like Parma and whatever kind of sliced cheese they want to put on it. It is not like, I'm going to have some sun-dried tomatoes, and I'm going to have some roasted red peppers, and I'm going to have some lettuce, and some arugula, and some...
And some places it is.
And like, some places,
All'Antico Vignaio, and some of the other ones.
Well, that one is not, actually. That's what I was thinking. That one specifically, it's like, they only do, it's almost always meat and cheese.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. The one that we went to down the street from there had a little bit more toppings. Interesting toppings.
For the vegetarians, yeah. But because I think your mom, and then when we went later with my dad, it was
meat and cheese.
Just meat and cheese.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it's really good meat and really good cheese. And as we've mentioned in a previous episode, the meat here does tend to be more gamey, even the cured meats. So it's not as smoothly processed tasting. I don't know, it's like a good word to describe it, but it's kind of like, I don't know, it's not as...
it's less factory farm tasting.
Yeah,
it tastes like an animal.
It does taste like an animal. So even the cured ones taste like an animal. But no, I mean, there's a couple good sandwich places that do multiple toppings and have fun, interesting sandwiches. But by and large, I think if an Italian says, let's go get a sandwich, they mean, let's go put some meat and cheese on a piece of bread.
Yeah. And speaking of which, when you go, if a lot of grocery stores they have like a deli counter.
Good point.
And you can
Yeah.
get a sandwich made in most grocery stores, not all. Even if they have a deli counter, it doesn't guarantee that they make sandwiches, but many do. That's a really inexpensive, quick
That's a
bite.
great point. Yeah. I think it's like €3 maybe is what a sandwich costs, $3.50. But like you can go to a grocery store.
Where we are, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good point.
I would say in bigger cities,
Like
it's probably
5?
close to 5, yeah.
Okay, but you can go there, and if it's like the deli counter, if they have any meat and cheese, you can ask them to put on a sandwich. So you can choose which meat you want, what cheese you want. Sometimes they'll be like the eggplant or the sun-dried tomatoes or something like that, and they can throw it on a sandwich for you, wrap it up, and you bring it to the front. Sort of like a Publix sub. If you guys have Publixes near you. If you don't have Publix sub, then this doesn't really make any sense.
Publix is a chain of grocery stores in the southeast.
Yeah,
of
right,
the
just the
US.
southeast.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Also, kind of related to that is like road trip food.
Mm-hmm.
In the U.S., we all stop at, fast food places, at rest stops, little, intersections of highway.
Or get a bag of Chex Mix at the gas station.
That's your road trip lunch?
That is my road trip lunch. Oh my God.
Aww.
I used to love Chex because I could only get it on a road trip. Like
Oh,
my mom
right,
was like,
right.
no unhealthy food. So I was like, okay. But on a road trip, because she's like, you're not going to find something healthy at a gas station. She's like, okay, you can get Chex Mix. I was like, oh my God, yes. So it's like little Nathaniel's have just in bliss anytime there's a road trip. And I'm like, that's a bag of Chex Mix for Nathaniel. So that doesn't exist
amazing.
here.
Yeah, well, Chex Mix might.
Maybe.
But I don't know. But the fast food thing. So most people when they are doing like a road trip style thing, will stop at what's called an auto grill, and it's a lot like a tavola calda. It's hot foods at a usually quite nice rest stop sort of style place. Often it will be attached to like a knick-knack sort of a shop.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
As well as like a snack. I mean, like American gas station style. Like they got drinks
Yep.
and snacks.
Alcohol.
And, yes, alcohol. And most of them have like a bunch of toys.
Yeah, I guess
don't know
if
if
your
it's a
kid's
thing
bored
to
in the back
buy
seat,
your
it's
kid.
like-
Yeah, a toy on a road trip. But then the auto grill, which like we said, is a lot like a tavola calda. You say what you want, and then there's tables there to eat. So you eat there, and then you get back in your car, get on the road.
And there are, I mean, I think I've eaten them once, like twice maybe. And they are sandwiches. There's sandwiches there. There are, like you said, tavola calda. There's like sometimes roast chicken and like potatoes. I mean, it's like full meals. It's not like, oh God, I have to get some weird preheated airport food. I'm like, no. It's really good food, usually, unless you get a bad one. And Auto Grill, for what it's worth, I believe is the name of a chain, not necessarily the name
Oh, is it?
of the thing itself.
Yeah,
like the
the generic
construct.
term for
Yes,
yeah.
thank you. It's a chain. It's called Auto Grill. Some of them are really fun though, because we've done road trips and we passed by, and some of them are built over the highway. Like it's almost like
an overpass.
Like an overpass. It's like an overpass that's an auto grill, which is kind of fun.
Little entertainment for your
Yeah,
lunch.
exactly. You just watch the cars below. You cannot throw food down. Obviously, it's sealed, but no, some of them they're really. It's like, I don't know. It's a fun thing to know that when you're on a road trip, at any point you can get off and be like, I'm just going to get a full meal. I'm not going to be eating Chex Mix and like wiping.
Yeah, or like a weird microwave hamburger.
Yeah.
Oh, or a rotating hot dog that's probably been there for months. Yeah, not really.
You sound excited though in like a good way. You're like, oh.
No,
I
it's
could go
just
for
like
one of those.
nostalgia for it.
Yeah.
I don't know that I ever had one.
But I like how they're
they always
completely
looked good.
exposed like to the
Oh,
store.
yeah.
Like it's not like hidden.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, do you want a hot dog? Ask the guy. No, it's just
No.
put your
It's just the
little
same 6
fingers
hot
on
dogs
the-
that have been there since the 1980s.
It's my
rotating.
favorite thing.
Yeah.
And then the slushies.
Okay, slushies are good though.
Oh, to be fair, if you can mix and match, you get the blue one and the cola one. Oh my
I used to
gosh.
do the cherry and the Coke
Cherry
mixed
and Coke,
together.
there you go.
Mhm, that was where it was at.
That's fair.
Okay, so let's keep talking about food in Italy.
Fair enough.
So takeaway and takeout are things that exist here. You can go and get, order something and then take it back to your hotel or take it back to your house.
Yeah.
In fact, the pastificio that I ate at in Rome recently that I talked about in the last episode, a lot of people were getting, little takeout bowls of pasta, freshly made pasta to take back to their hotel.
Makes sense. I mean, yeah, good location.
Yeah. But to go like not to go. What do you call it? Like a doggy bag when you've eaten at a restaurant and you want to take the rest to go.
Yeah, I guess can I take the rest
Leftovers?
to go? Leftovers?
Yeah, like taking away leftovers after your meal is not really a thing.
Yeah.
I think you see it more with pizzas. Sometimes people will be like, "Oh wow, I was actually not prepared for this whole pizza. This is take it with them." That's rare, but it happens. But like if you don't finish your pasta, it's
not really
like
a thing,
if you like in the
yeah.
U.S., people come around and like, "Oh, would you like a container to go?" That's not a thing here. If you ask for it, they might be able to make it happen for you, but it maybe not, because a lot of restaurants with the full courses, a lot of evening style restaurants, you got the pasta and the contorni, the meat and all these things, they don't necessarily have to go containers.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So some can accommodate you, but don't bank on it.
Well, and I was like, to jump on that. It's not. I think we talked about in the last episode, like the courses basically that you have. So you have like the antipasto and the primi, secondi, the contorni, and so it's like the primi, the pasta dish, for instance. If you leave a little left over, and then you want that to take home, that basically you want to take that home, but you're also waiting for your next meal, the next portion of your meal to come. It's a little weird. They're like, no. That's not how we do it. If you don't finish it, that's fine. We're going to take the plate away, toss it, and then bring you your next course. And that's just something to be aware of. Like, if you are eating at an Italian restaurant, that does not necessarily cater to tourists, because I think the ones that cater to tourists might be a little bit more prepared for that.
Yeah.
The ones that don't cater to tourists really have no idea that's coming, because like, why would you want to take this to go?
Just eat it now.
Yeah, like don't you have, if not, just wait 10 minutes and then eat it when your stomach has that space. Like, what are you doing?
Go smoke a cigarette. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Just go walk around the parking lot and come back. So that's just something that's like a warning. If you happen to be done and you sort of push the plate away or something like that, and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to ask the server for a box when they come by, and they come by and just take the plate, it's just because there's no real thing here about like
there's not a culture
leftovers.
of taking it home, taking your leftovers home.
And the only time I think we've even taken a pizza home is when we were doing a pizza a giro, which we'll talk about in a second, which is when pizzas come to the table when they're ready, and people were full and there's still like a pizza or two to come, and they're like, well, you guys can just take them home. And that might be the only time, because sometimes even when there's like a couple of pieces left, it's like, you really want to take that home? Because I think Italian pizza is great, but it's like, it's not
really a reheating kind of deal.
It is not a reheating kind of deal. No. I think American pizza is a fantastic cold and fantastic hot, and Italian pizza is only fantastic hot.
Yes, and fresh.
Actually,
on that note, should we talk about pizza a little bit?
Yeah, let's I think let's talk about pizza. I think we've talked about this in past episodes, I imagine. But we wanted to, what do we want to do? Just kind of give some information, basically. Not necessarily on
clarify like what people think of as the do's and don'ts, basically. Not what we think of as the do's and, what we think of as the do's and don'ts, but based on, people coming here and visiting and saying like, oh, I've heard that we're not allowed to do this. I've heard that,
exactly.
It's rude when you split a pizza. I've heard blah, blah, blah. So just explain, some of those things. And
we're putting this here though, because, in essence, I think pizza is sort of Italian fast food. Like
it's a quick thing to eat.
Yeah. Like it's, we've established, I think, this in the last episode, but pizza is by and large only for dinner. It just takes a while to heat up a pizza oven. So some of the more famous places will have pizza for lunch because they're famous. And so they can heat up an oven for lunch and then leave it hot all day until dinner. But a lot of the smaller restaurants don't want to do that because it's just timely and expensive, and they have to have the pizzaiolo there and the whole 9 yards. So they only do pizza for dinner. And it really should be, from ordering to eating, it should, pizza's quick. Usually within 10 minutes we have our pizza. Sometimes less.
Because it takes only minutes to cook a pizza.
I think most pizzas in the South, at least when you do the Southern Napolitano style, it takes about 60 seconds to cook a pizza. So all that being said, very briefly, just wanted to run over some rules or guidelines, if you will. First, but not least, which I guess nobody really says that, is you can split a pizza. People ask us often, like, I heard you can't split a pizza. I heard you can't do metà metà, which is half and half. And you can. You absolutely can. If there's a pizza that you like and you're traveling with a partner or a friend or a parent or a child, and there's a part of pizza they like, not only can you
mix it up half and half, so you get two. That's what you and I usually do. We'll get two different flavors, one each, and then give split half. But you can also do, if you're not feeling very hungry, you can order one pizza for 2 people, and they will split it for you. Most people get their own pizza, but you can't do that.
Pizza is definitely a single meal, one person's meal, single serving. Because something else you can do is ask them to split it though too. Like, we want a margarita and then we want a diavolo or something like that. But like, can you split it? And they'll be like, oh yeah, sure. So they'll split it, and then it comes out from the kitchen. One plate is half margarita and half diavolo, and the other one's half and half. However, we have never seen, even in touristy places, pizza places willing to do, can I get like mushrooms on one half and olives on the other?
Oh,
We've
yeah.
never seen that. That is very much not a Italian thing. That's very much an American thing, where there are giant pizzas, so it makes sense to do like half and half. But it's also not that, like, for lack of a better word, structured. I mean, the pizzas are structured, but like when you see them make it, it's a lot of throwing things on there. It's not like an even dollops here, perfect. It's very much like tossing it and going. So sometimes we'll get pizzas with like the ingredients are just on half the pizza.
I think it depends on the pizzaiolo, though, because some of them are very particular about where things go. So it's not like every slice will have the same amount of a certain ingredient, but it will be nicely dispersed. Oftentimes, not always.
That's a good
sometimes
point.
They do more of the toss method.
I think sometimes they're just like, especially if it's busy, it's just like chucking things on there and running. So that's splitting it, and then on that note, we were told years ago that the idea of taking toppings off and putting toppings on a pizza, like asking the server to take certain things off and put certain things on, isn't really done that often, because the idea is like, that's a completed dish. If you don't want something on that dish, do not order that dish.
Choose something else. Yeah.
And I think it's starting to change. I think people are starting to realize, and part of it is for us, I realize where we live, there are more vegans/vegetarians. So it's a little bit more common for people to go out to a pizza restaurant and say, I'd love that pizza, but can I get it without the prosciutto? Can I get it without the, the sausage?
And I think certainly people are becoming more aware of the fact that a lot of people have allergies to certain things.
100%.
And maybe people are becoming more accepting to that. A little less of the, no, it's only a tiny bit of meat. No, it's only a tiny bit of gluten.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's only a tiny bit of zucchini. It does seem like more and more people are acknowledging of the fact that, allergies can be dangerous. So you can ask to take an ingredient off, because pizza is made fresh.
Yes, for sure.
There are some dishes, not pizza, like sauces and things for pastas that they've been possibly made overnight or something. So you can't always ask for ingredients like that to be taken out. But on pizzas, because they're made fresh, if it's like, one ingredient that you don't want on it, you should be able to ask.
I think so. Yeah, exactly.
Included.
And then last but not least, I mentioned earlier a couple of minutes ago, pizza a giro, which is not something you'll probably run into unless you are in Italy with a larger party. I'm thinking like if you came here for like a wedding, or if you came here for other things where people get together and spend a lot of money.
I feel like if it's like 10 or more people, and if you're 10 or more people and there's a small pizza oven, if there's a big pizza oven, you can just have many pizzas, individual pizzas. But often pizza giro happens, I think, because there's a smaller pizza oven and they can only do 1 or 2 pizzas at a time. So instead of people eating 2 by 2 by 2, it's kind of laid out in the middle, and you all take a little piece.
Exactly.
And then they bring out more pizzas of different flavors or the same or whatever, and you take another little piece.
And that's something like, for what it's worth, it's just like typically one person will order, like we'll say, we would like the pizza giro, like we don't want to wait, because again, as you mentioned, like one person at the table is going to be eating 15 minutes before somebody else, just because of how long, it'll take to make and bake the pizzas. But some, if usually the Italian, if you're with an Italian, they'll say like, no, I've asked the pizzas to come out whenever they're ready, and we'll put them on the table, we'll slice them. And that brings me to the other somewhat point, it's not even a rule, it's just something to keep in mind, is that pizzas do not typically come pre-sliced like they do in America. They usually just come as an intact pizza pie.
Yeah. A circle.
A circle. And you have to cut it yourself, which is not a big issue. It comes with a fork and knife and the whole 9 yards. But
and people eat pizza with a fork and knife.
Yes,
I think we've said that before, but just to reiterate,
for me still, I can't believe it.
You don't eat pizza with a fork and knife.
I do not. I like to fold it, and I like to eat it like it's a little folded
pizza
taco thing. Yeah, exactly. It's the New York style, I've been told. I think just my mother says that. But I don't know. She's from New York. But no, I think like that's how I'm used to eating pizza. And here everyone eats with a fork and knife. And it's really common to see people not eat the crust and just eat the inside. Again, that's not really a rule. That's not a do or don't. It's just more of if you are somebody who likes pizza and who doesn't like crust and who does like to eat with a fork and knife, you are going to fit in super well in Italy. You are going to look super duper Italian. If you're like me and you're folding your pizza and just eating the crust off other people's plate, possibly less so. You might look like the monster that somebody should not have let in. I think those are pretty much by and large the quote unquote pizza rules. There really isn't much around it, but it's just I think that's pretty much it. I mean, it's very short and brief, very, very straightforward.
But speaking of, looking Italian and eating your pizza with a fork and knife, there are some other customs, essentially.
Sure.
Customs, habits, things Italians do that visually differentiate them between, Westerners or Americans. And one of them is, I think it's my favorite one, is that whenever bread is served, which typically comes out, we'll reiterate the courses in a second, but bread usually comes out with the meat and the vegetables as your second course. And people, you can take a slice of bread and Italians will put it on the table instead of on their plate. And I love it. They also do this thing called fare la scarpetta, which is to make the little shoe, which is just like, I don't know why the little shoe, except that like it walks around your plate,
I
but
think
you
it looks like a little shoe because you're just scooping it. I don't know.
But yeah, but shoes don't scoop.
Well, that's what somebody told me. They're like, oh, because it looks like a little shoe. And I'm like, it looks like a piece of bread. I don't know what to tell you.
But it's taking a little piece of bread and just scooping like, the tomato sauce out of your bowl or, you just,
Yeah, cleaning the plate with the bread, basically, which is...
And then eating it, obviously.
Well,
it's not just
Yeah, not just throwing it away.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because it's also, I think the first time I did it, the first time you did it, it was somebody kind of made like, oh, so you do that. Because it's not like that, it's not that refined, I get the impression.
No.
It's something that people do, like, it's like you do it around family, not at a restaurant kind of thing is what it seems to be.
But I think in the South you see people doing it in restaurants.
For sure. Because sometimes people, like, even though the servers will ask, like, did you want to, fare la scarpetta? You want to, get that clean? And actually, you mentioned one a second ago about the bread on the table. Oh, I was going to mention, too, that is not that common. And I'm not even sure where it is common. People from the North say they don't do it. People from the South say they don't do it. But olive oil. There's no real dipping your bread in olive oil.
Oh, yeah. Not like at the Italian restaurants in the U.S. where they have the bread with the olive oil and the, herbs and whatever.
And not the vinegar and the cheese. Yeah, that's not a thing. And if it is the thing, it's literally just going to be olive oil. And it might be Agriturismo or something like that has their own production of olive oil. And they you should taste it. But it really, it's like, I don't think we've ever seen it, North or South, a thing where properly Italian restaurants will go ahead and put out little plates for olive oil.
No. Well, I have to research it because it might come from somewhere. It might be very regionally specific. And we just haven't come across it.
Because that's something that sometimes there will be also a bottle of olive oil on the table. And that's because a lot of people drizzle olive oil on top of their pasta or on top of their meat or whatever it is, the contorni, the vegetables. So I think there's also that idea that it must be for the bread. And it's like, no. There's bread on the table. There's olive oil on the table. They're for two different things. Yeah. They're not related.
Exactly.
So yeah. I think
one other thing is that, I guess we do it in the U.S. too, but like Nathaniel said in I think the last episode we were talking about it, is that water, like tap water, is not just a thing that you get for free in restaurants. You purchase a bottle of water in every restaurant in Italy. That's just the way it's done. So you can get the still water or the fizzy water, and that's typically shared across the table. So you're not going to order your own.
Yeah,
exactly. You're not ordering your own water for yourself personally. You're ordering it for the table. Wine is typically the same way. You can obviously get a glass of wine for yourself in many places, but a lot of places will sell the wine by like the quarter, half, and full liter. And typically that is for the table. Oftentimes people will get, because you never know. When you sit down and you order drinks, you don't know what everybody's going to order. So sometimes people will get, a half liter of white, a half liter of red, There's a lot of discussion
There's
that
so
goes
much
on.
discussion,
like,
around
you
like
know,
what do you guys want?
frizzante, naturale, you know, fizzy water, bubbly water, white or red. Are we doing the first course? Are we doing an antipasto? Are we just doing primi? Are you going to get a meat? Should we do it all together? Insieme? Okay. So there's like a lot of chit chat and coordination that goes on.
There is, and I don't think we've talked about this yet or before. I mean, we have, but it's splitting the bill. Have we talked about that?
No.
Something just to be, if you do, again, this is like, again, if you go out with Italians and if you're visiting and you're study abroad, you're coming here for a month or two, or you're moving here and you're going to be eating with Italians, it's common to split the bill evenly, not by what you got. And if you are somebody on a budget, Darcy and I have many times been on a budget where the bill comes in like, oh no, we'll just split it down. Let's even this way. I'm like, it is not even this way. I got a €5 pizza and a €1.50 bottle of water. You got wine and a €15 pizza.
Yeah.
Nothing about this is even. However, that's typically how it's done. Like, it's just when you go out and the bill comes to like €60 and there's 6 of you, everyone chips in 10. It's just the easiest way to do it. There's no tipping. There's no leaving a tip. That's why it's always kind of important to bring a little cash at the very least, or be the person that pays and then collect cash from everybody else. If you have like one of those credit cards that have a lot of cash back on restaurants. Well, we have the
This
Saver
would be a
One card.
perfect time if we were sponsored by some sort of
I know. And
credit
that brings
card
us
or
to
something.
Capital One Saver One.
Yeah.
Seriously, Capital One, if you guys are listening to this, just like toss us a little little money
Little
for
kickback.
this. Little
That's
kickback. That's all I'm asking.
We're going to rep you anyway.
Because we use that card. So no, I just wanted to mention that because I think sometimes that does, the many times we've gone out to eat with Americans and Italians at the same group, there's oftentimes the Americans ask like, wait, so how do we split this? Like, or and it's like, no. Like, you know, you're just, and it's almost this like idea to just order more because it's like, well,
Right.
you're splitting it anyway.
Right. Just get your money's worth out of it.
Yeah, and sometimes like people order dessert for the table and you're like, I don't really want the dessert. And it's like, now you're paying for it, so you better start eating.
Yeah.
It only, I think, changes if sometimes people will be like very specific, like I need to pay for myself because I need it like a receipt.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Then I think a lot of Italians understand, but by and large, it's just like, no, this will be easier. We'll just, we'll split it down the middle or whatever it is and make it just super simple that way.
Another thing that Italians do maybe differently. There are things to make you look Italian is what we're giving you now.
Yeah.
One big one is cheersing.
Ooh,
Is that how we
yes.
say it in English? Cheersing?
Saluting.
Saluting?
That's definitely not it.
No,
Cheersing?
that's different in America.
Right. We're
To cheers.
yeah, to cheers.
Okay.
Toasting.
Toasting.
We got there.
Toast.
We got
But
there, y'all.
doesn't toasting involve speaking?
It may, that's what Toastmasters is, but I think you could just toast with silence. Cheers. Chink. And they're it.
To
Done.
silence.
Yes.
So the way that Italians, okay, so I'm going to explain this, but there has been some debate in our family recently.
There's no debate. There's one person who's dead wrong, and there's no debate.
Who is it?
Luigi.
It's Luigi, okay.
He's the only one that has not apparently seen other Italians around him.
Yeah.
I love him
He's
so
not
much.
observed other Italian traditions. Okay, so the way that Italians cheers or toast, as we've just figured out is what it's called, is you don't toast all together in the center. Right, which I think is typical in a lot of places, not in Italy. You toast individually to each person. You don't have to, like, if you're in a big group, you don't have to walk across to the other side of the table to cheers them.
But some people definitely do.
Some people do. Some people are excited about it.
Yeah, they'll come over to you and like, hey, cheers, by the way, cheers.
Yeah. But it is good that if you don't walk over, you just, acknowledge people. That's just a nice thing. But so you toast each person individually. You look them in the eye when you're toasting. It's okay to make a funny face. I always make a funny face because I widen my eyes because I'm really concentrating. I mean, that's not Italian. The face making part is a me thing. That's not.
But I think sometimes also do that sort of like extra,
do.
like I
It's
want you to
kind
know
of
that I'm
like
acknowledging that I'm
like
looking in
we
the
all
eye.
know that we're being kind of
Yeah.
silly, You don't cheers with water. That's bad
Or
luck.
non-alcohol, I think.
Yeah.
Like sodas and stuff too.
Some people will toast
I
with
know,
with,
but
like
when Michaela
soda
had
and
a
stuff.
Diet Coke, nobody would cheers. Nobody's like, no.
Poor Michele.
I know.
And you can't cross. So when you're doing it the individual, if you're like, a table, four top, if you're 4 people, you can't make an X as you're cheersing. You have to do, 2 and 2. Well, sorry, not 2 and 2. 1 and 1, cheers, pause. The opposite way, 1 and 1, cheers. Crossing is bad luck.
Yes, it is. So is, I think, cheersing or saluting or toasting with water.
Yes.
And I think one other thing that's not as common, like it's maybe more in corporate culture and business culture, but not so much in family culture, is in theory, people might have heard it before, if you've heard it before, dear listener, is the as a sign of respect, you go lower when you're saluting. Like if you're both are cheersing or toasting, like if you both have the same size glass.
Is that a thing here?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and it's one of the things I like when we looked up when we got here. I was kind of curious because I didn't want to say the wrong thing. It was in the same thing actually. I'll bring up. It's the chin chin. But even here, because I know it's big in. Is it Asia? It's really big in
I think Japan specifically.
Japan. Okay, because I know you're supposed to kind of go like. But I think here too, it's like the idea is you don't want to.
So you're basically when you have two cups with one person who's at a higher rank, more.
Yeah, exactly. You
go
kind of low.
them, so you go low compared to their glass,
exactly.
like
so
the lip.
Yeah, so your lip
Got
is
it.
under theirs. It's just supposed to be a nice little thing to do.
You're not putting like one cup above the other cup. You're
like
still touching
yes,
cups.
that's a good point.
You're just the lip of your cup.
You don't touch the top
lower.
of the cup. Yeah, that'd be kind of crazy. And I was also what you say. Most people say saluti,
Salute.
salute. Saluti tutti. Okay, salute.
Salute.
I guess more than
And
one.
that's a word that I feel like a lot of people, when they come here, and I did the same thing. I still do the same thing. Like I second guess what I hear in Italian
100% all
and
the time.
say it in a way that is incorrect because I get nervous and I'm like, well, that sounds weird to my ear. I'm going to say it in a way that sounds normal. But then I end up saying things incorrectly. Salute is one that I think a lot of people just say salut because we have that in the
I think
US.
that's a Sicilian thing too. Because we don't like it's salut is like very Sicilian. And it's not at all Italian.
It's not Italian. So salute is.
And I think it comes from
typical.
salutare, which is
It's to health.
well, salutare is health. It is like the verb for health, I think. So like salute is your health. You're like you health.
Yeah.
You healthy.
Health.
So no, I think that maybe it's just health. Yeah.
I think it's just health.
Okay, because then it's like saluti tutti is like everyone's health, I guess. And it's
I
one of
think
those
that
things,
one's
like,
more like cheers to all.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's like when we're doing it in real life, honestly, not a problem. When I'm talking about it on a podcast, oh my god, I have no idea the Italian language is formed. Like in real life though, not too bad. But there's also chin chin, which is cin, and it comes from, it's like a Latin word like cinare or something like that. But it's yeah.
I'm making a face now, Nathaniel, just so everybody knows. What?
Yeah, it's a Latin. It's not to drink, but it's to something. And so that's where but basically it's one of those things like nobody knows where it really comes from. That's
That
the
is
best
not
guess.
what I heard.
Really? What'd you hear?
Yeah, I asked Rodolfo, and he's like, no, it's just the sound that it makes. Ching ching.
That was the apocryphal version apparently. Like that was the one that people think, but then there's like because there's evidence of it going back farther than the sound it makes kind of thing, like to Latin, then they're like it's probably comes from a Latin word of like sip sip or something. I have no idea. I can't remember what cinare is the verb because it does not sound like that at all.
Ching ching.
I guess because that you're doing okay.
Yeah.
They didn't have glass back then. Clunk clunk.
Yeah, well, we need to get metal or pottery glasses, and we'll test
Knock
it
them
out.
together.
Yeah,
That's a
we'll
good
do
point.
some.
I was thinking like
testing.
earthenware, like wooden mugs. They have pewter maybe. I don't know.
That was my clunking sound, but you can't say
It feels
that.
like you put them all in a dishwasher and just like just spinning around. So yes, salute, and
Salute.
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 I am struggling with this on the podcast. In real life, y'all, so good. Really not, but better than this. This is a poor display of my Italian. Chin chin, and then that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much what people say.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Just wanted to throw that out there in case you wanted to be like super Italian. Salute.
Nice. You got it that time. So I think we should just briefly go over all the ways to look Italian that we've already covered.
Like a little recap.
A little recap. Yes. So don't walk with your food if you want to look Italian.
Or don't walk and eat.
Yes. Thank you. Don't
just
walk
for
and eat.
clarity.
Don't walk and drink. Have your coffee at the bar and eat your food at the food shop, wherever you got it from, unless you're going for a picnic. What is the next one?
Couldn't even tell you because I think we veered so far off course at that point.
Don't expect fast food.
Don't expect fast food.
Not really a thing here. But there are some quick bites, which we talked about. When you're in a restaurant, put your bread on the table, not on your plate.
Don't expect olive oil. And if you want to be really Italian, don't ask for olive oil to dip your bread into.
Yes. But you can ask for olive oil, like we said, to put on your pasta or your vegetables, things like that. Split your bottle of water and wine with the table. That's for the table, not individual.
Eat your pizza with a fork and knife. If you want to be like, that's again, the super Italian. If that doesn't hurt your soul, that is something to consider. For me, it feels sacrilegious.
Do the proper cheers technique. Look somebody in the eye. Don't crisscross. You can say salute or chin chin.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Somehow there are other things we talked about. It feels like we just recapped that in like 2 seconds.
It does. But I think those are big ones.
Those are the big ones. And again, if you're going to go out with Italians, when you pay, you can go ahead and assume that you're going to be paying, splitting the bill evenly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's pretty much the big ones. In the next episode, we're going to kind of get, not more into being how to be Italian, but we're going to talk about, you want to talk about bar, cocktails, and digestion.
Because digestion is huge for Italians.
It's way sexier than it sounds.
They think about it a lot.
We are not talking about like how your body works. Trust me. We're talking about how to drink. What I'm talking about. But no, I think that's something that it kind of ties in Italian too, because again, it's the idea that like, if to be really Italian, you can fit that aperitivo into your day. And that's like, wow, that person just belongs here.
It's not a hard thing to do for a lot of people.
It is not. It's just food and drinks at the end of the day. It's lovely.
Or before lunch.
If you can do it twice, then you're really pulling it off. That's when you know you've made it as an Italian. But I think that's, what do you think? Is that everything? Is that pretty much?
I think that's it.
We have a bunch of notes in no particular order. So it's, I mean, you have an order to them. I just don't know what it is.
I think we've covered everything.
Yeah.
And like you said, next time we're going to be talking about drinks, digestion,
and then cocktails, like some specific cocktails that just because what to expect, I think, out of cocktails.
Yeah, it's what to expect at a bar and of alcohol here, because cocktails, I don't want to ruin it, but cocktails are not a huge thing here. That cocktail culture is starting to kind of pop off, but traditionally has not been a thing here. The
last one that you mentioned earlier was no doggy bags, no like leftovers.
Oh yes, no leftovers to go. That's huge.
And if you can't finish it while you're there, feel free to take as much time as you want. The table is yours for the night. There's no time limit. There's no like we have to flip you in an hour and a half. Nothing like that. Right. Like go out for a smoke, come back in. I mean, if you don't smoke, don't just like go outside, pick out the smoking habit. Like just you could stand up if you want, just to help your body digest. I don't know. Sometimes you and I are just at dinner for 3 hours just because we're like,
and
I want to keep eating.
Walk.
I just need a minute. Yeah,
definitely. That's okay.
Yeah. And we don't smoke, so we can't just go outside for that excuse. We have to sit there.
Just wander around.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's everything.
I think that's it. Yeah. Thank you everybody so much for listening
tuning in once again to
hear us talk about food, which we tend to do a lot.
A lot of these episodes seem to be about food, but it's also like, what else are you going to Italy for? The culture? Ugh. No.
The art?
Yeah, come on.
The antiquities?
At one point, we should probably talk about art and antiquities, but I don't know if people are interested in art and antiquities as they're in food.
If you are interested in art and antiquities, please let us know.
Yeah, if you are, please let us know. If you're also an artist like Darcy and you're looking for art stores in Italy, please let us know. We are happy to point you in the right direction. We were thinking about just like all that useless information we've accumulated of like how to find the perfect art store, and then realizing that there are very few artists who come to Italy to look for an art store. So it's kind of like, oh man, all this fun information we have, which is great for us. It's like everyone else is like, I just buy art stuff when I get home. And I'm like, okay, that's fine too. Just thought you might want some Italian art supplies.
But any questions you have, we will be honest if we can't answer them. But even if you're looking for like sporting goods and you don't know if you're going to be able to get them here, let us know. We have been in Rome wandering around to 5 different sporting outlet, tiny
and looking for
tiny shops.
Goggles,
exactly. Looking for random things.
A yoga mat. Jesus.
Yeah.
The amount of times you can find a yoga mat. We don't even do yoga. I just wanted a mat play on the floor with. It's such not a thing. Oh my gosh.
So if you have any questions, any suggestions, anything that you want to hear about, if there's something about food that we didn't answer, just let us know. You can reach us at onlyabagofficial@gmail.com or on Instagram at only_a_bag. You can also go to our website at onlyabag.com for a lot of what we talk about here, but also a lot of extra tidbits that don't necessarily make it onto the podcast. And it's just a great way to get information if you prefer a visual medium rather than a audio one.
Absolutely. I think that was a perfect way to... Nice. I love that. Like, bow, bow, bow.
Please recommend us to your friends.
Yes.
Like us. Click the positive button on whatever it is that you're listening to, Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and just like, follow, all
And
that
as I say, on
stuff.
Spotify too, if you have a Spotify account, you can now leave comments. So if there's anything
that's
that you
nice.
wanted to know more information on, or if you just wanted to comment and say, loved the podcast, you guys, or something else really positive, feel free to be positive or curious. And we'll answer the questions and we'll respond to the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you to everybody who does leave comments. It makes us so happy to know that people are out there hearing us and like what we're sharing. It makes us happy for weeks we talk about it.
Yeah, it's really what keeps us going at this point. So thank you all so much. Yeah, that was a really way to tie it up.
Thank you.
It's very professional sounding.
Thank you
I was
very
just like
much.
listening. I'm like, wow, that's a great end to the podcast.
I really like podcasts, so I'm just kind of
a natural,
emulating. Oh yeah, I'm just a natural. I'm just really good at
whatever.
this.
It's the radio voice. I was born with it. I don't have to tell you. Maybe it's Maybelline. Maybe it's my radio voice. I think that's how
Again,
the ad
Maybelline.
goes.
I don't know if you want to sponsor us for that.
I mean, come on. We
I
have
don't know how
like 3
much
great
good
sponsors in this video now,
do
or
you.
podcast now.
So we'll be talking to you guys again next Wednesday about drinks and digestion.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'll also be there, but I'm looking
But
forward
also
to it.
possibly just listening.
I might just be listening. Darcy's very excited. I might just be nodding along.
Okay, so we thank you everybody for listening, and we'll be back here next Wednesday.
Yeah, thank you all so much for listening. We really appreciate it.